We are good. Okay. It's Monday, March 30th, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're covering on today's episode of the show. As many of us continue our institution of social distancing, Amazon and Instacart employees and contractors would like more safety procedures implemented and are striking to make their point clear. And with many of us turning to online gaming for entertainment, a blast from the recent past is making a resurgence as HQ Trivia will relaunch today, less than 2 months after shuttering its services. Plus, we'll be joined by Scott Mercer, the CEO and founder of Volta Charging, to discuss how they are looking to solve the looming infrastructure gap for electric vehicle charging stations. And we'll also have our own Davin Matthews on to talk about the effects that COVID-19 has had on the camera and photography industry, including some delays and what that could mean for the industry in the near future as things start to rebound. All of that and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. And hello, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you very much for joining us wherever you're watching. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And I want you to actually hit subscribe on whatever platform you're watching. We bring you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And so we do appreciate everybody joining us. We want to get straight to some news here right out of the gate to keep you up to date. We've got lots of interviews coming, but feel free to drop in your comments on whatever platform you're watching on as we go through. So let's get started here to get to this. Something that certainly could have an effect on a lot of us, we'll see where it goes, is this. There's a couple of different strikes that are happening right now in association with the services that we're used to, one of them being with Amazon. So Amazon, this isn't a nationwide strike. I want to emphasize that as of right now. This is just something that's happening in New York at one particular distribution center. But here's what they are talking about. So this one is called JFK 8. It's on Staten Island. And what happened is one of their employees was apparently tested positive. One of the workers there tested positive for the coronavirus last week. What the employees at this place are saying is that they believe that management is not being transparent about how many people are sick. They would like to be closed down and then also have it completely sterilized. So Amazon has responded saying that they're following all guidelines from local health officials and are taking extreme measures to ensure the safety of employees at our site. But clearly the employees feel that's different. And this is something that I think we could see issues of this arise other places. I mean, really, I don't want to speculate too much more beyond what we're seeing right now, but that's happening today at this distribution center in New York. And again, that's the JFK 8 one on Staten Island. So far, it's just there where this is going on. But also nationwide is another thing that's happening. This has to do with Instacart. Now, a lot of us maybe used Instacart beforehand. Maybe they're turning to it now because we all want to social distance and stay at home. Instacart essentially will go out and do your grocery shopping for you. You put in what you want, and then they'll go out and find it and do the shopping for you and then bring it to your door. Well, Instacart employees, which are known as shoppers, so they're the ones who pick up and deliver the groceries to the customers, said they will, as of today, refuse to take new orders during the walkout. So it's a walkout, not necessarily a strike, as you would say, but a walkout. These are gig economy employees. And they said that there's a statement that came out. They said, "We will not risk our safety, our health, or our lives for a company that fails to adequately protect us, fails to adequately pay us, and fails to provide us with accessible benefits should we become sick." Now, that's from the Gig Workers Collective. So it's a labor group that is making that statement. The employees, the shoppers, if you will, are demanding that Instacart provide protective equipment for workers at no cost, add a $5 hazard pay fee to all orders to compensate shoppers, and extend sick benefits for workers directly affected by the virus. Now, Instacart is saying that they're taking care of some of this. They've made some changes to their tipping procedures, that they're trying to alleviate some of these concerns that Instacart shoppers do have, but it's so far not the same. So with this walkout today, and again, assuming that all of the shoppers follow this, your Instacart orders it's probably going to be pretty hard to get those today. So we don't know how long that's going to go on. This is just what's been announced today. It's an ongoing situation. We've got lots of coverage for you at digitaltrends.com, so I encourage you to go there to stay up to date. Let's keep it going here, though, just to bring you up to date again on trending news right out of the gate here before we get into our interviews. Another thing that's being announced, and this is a trending story right now because it showcases another industry or company that's working to help alleviate some of the equipment shortages for the medical field, and this one comes from somewhat a surprising partnership. It's from F1, so Formula One Racing, partnering with the University College London, and so it's Mercedes Formula One, and they are partnering together to create new ventilators that would actually help out with breathing when it comes to people who are suffering from coronavirus. So this is a breathing aid that they've got. It's this partnership utilizing essentially CPAP machines that are being adapted for that. Now, Formula One certainly uses some of this kind of technology when they're racing their cars. And again, this is just an interesting partnership for it, but it showcases another industry trying to come to the aid of a lot of these people. So right now, they said that they've delivered 100 units in the UK. They think that they can get 1,000 of them out there. And there's a lot of companies that are working on this. Dyson also came up with a ventilator for this. So we're seeing companies try to do what they can and adapt what they currently do to help out with that. But you can read more about that one at digitaltrends.com. All right, rapid fire news here for you. So HK Trivia. Yes, we all remember HK Trivia, and then we all remember about, it seems like forever ago now because the news cycle changes every hour, but it was about a month and a half ago, actually, that HQ Trivia officially went down. They said that they were done, and then there was kind of a promise from the co-founder at the time who said that he thought he could get some more funding to bring it back, but essentially everybody was let go and the trivia platform went away. I mean, you remember like 2 years ago, this was huge, HQ Trivia was. Well, now it is back. Here's an announcement that came through from their co-founder, Russ Yusupov, who said that they are going to be back today. So today, March 30th, 2020, they said that they're going to be launching again. It's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern, that a new game is going to be launching today. So as we're all at home and as everybody's going to online gaming and mobile gaming, different ways to connect, it seems like this is the perfect time for HQ Trivia to return. Now, who's funding it? I guess it's a different company. It's a different amount of funding that's coming through. So we've got details about that at Digital Trends. But the main thing is I want to let you know is that HQ Trivia is back. So if you're like me, I'll be on there tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific for me, trying that out again, but that is something that they have now announced. So again, HQ Trivia returning. A couple other things just in the news. This is going to something that's a little bit beyond coronavirus, thankfully. So it has to do with what's happening with SpaceX. SpaceX making an announcement that they also have signed a contract with NASA to carry supplies to the new lunar base when that happens. Well, it's going to be the Lunar Gateway Space Station. So here's what it is. The Lunar Gateway Space Station, something that NASA's been planning for a while. It's going to orbit around the moon. It's going to be there to help out the Project Artemis, which is going to be on the moon, but also for that stepping stone for further missions further out into space, possibly Mars or wherever we're going to go from there. This, though, with SpaceX signing this contract, they're going to be delivering supplies there. So it's a pretty big development there for them, a good contract for SpaceX. Now, a couple of other things. The Lunar Gateway project is proceeding as planned, but that Project Artemis, the Artemis mission to actually set up a moon base, which originally was supposed to be, at least as far as a lunar landing, not setting up the base, but a lunar landing, was set up for 2024. It does sound like that is most likely going to be delayed as NASA sends employees home because of the threat of COVID-19. So we're probably going to get some delays in that. This is something that we won't see for years, but definitely expect that delay. But that is an announcement from SpaceX with that partnership. One other thing I wanted to bring you up to date on, and then we do have your product of the day. This is just interesting thing that somebody is doing with their time, working from home and social distancing, and it has to do with a Tesla user, a Tesla owner, who created essentially his own cyber club in his Tesla car. So here's what it is. This is Dr. Gregory Chu took a Tesla Model 3 and aligned it with LED fiber optic lights to create essentially his own club. So it's got all kinds of different colors and lights that'll beat to the music. There's a video that kind of showcases what it is and how it's actually working, but it's kind of cool. He used 40 feet of fiber optic roll, a bunch of different kinds of LED lights to get in there, and then all kinds of extension wires. But he said they were able to do it with this kind of lighting because of the fact that LEDs didn't take up too much power. But definitely interesting what he created. So again, you can take a look at that at digitaltrends.com. Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day. All right, so here's what we've got, and it's so big it doesn't even fit in the frame of what we're showing right now, but this is what I'm talking about, and this is actually a pretty cool product. It's called the Dyson Pure Cool Link Desk Air Purifier. So this is something that, as we're setting up our home offices, you want it to be nice, cozy, you want it to feel like, you know, you're at a nice office and get that feeling for it. Well, this is something you can do. So this thing automatically removes 99.97% of allergens and pollutants as small as 3 microns from your home. So this just removes that general pollutants or dust or things like that, allergens that are in the air. It's purification all year round. They said that it's a purifying fan in the summer. It's got a nice cord length on it. It's intelligent, so it automatically monitors, reacts, and purifies, then reports to your Dyson Link app, so you hook up to an app. It's also enabled by Amazon Echo. It's got nighttime auto features. It's really quiet, actually. I had it turned on here earlier today just to kind of test it out. And let's see here. I'll turn it on. You probably won't even be able to hear it because the fact that it's pretty low. Well, maybe that will come through. I'm sure everybody back in the office is loving me for that. So it's got an easy filter change, pure cool replacement filters right now, $100 off, normally $3.99, on sale for $2.99. So check that out at the link below. That is your product of the day. I know we need to continue on here because we have lots of guests joining us and great things to talk about here. Up next, we've got Scott Mercer, who is the CEO and founder of Volta Charging. Now we talk about electric vehicles. I showcase that Tesla, but we need charging stations, and there's an impending issue with the infrastructure for that. So we're going to talk about Volta's solution for that. So stick around. We'll be right back with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler, and again, broadcasting live from my living room, which is where we're going to be for the impending future as we all practice social distancing. And I thank everybody for joining us. So hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you are watching on. But let's have a discussion right now about what's going to be happening after that, because electric vehicles are obviously huge right now, but we need the infrastructure to support them. And that's what we're going to discuss with Scott Mercer, who's the CEO and founder of Volta Charging. Number one, Scott, I want to say thank you very much for joining us, wherever you're broadcasting from. Thanks for being here with us. And if we could, get a little bit of background, too, on your company.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg, for having me. And yes, also from the living room, kind of trying to go with the between two ferns thing here. Yeah, happy to be here.
So, hey, Scott, could we get a little bit of the background on Volta Charging and just what your company is, and then talk about some of these issues that you're trying to tackle?
Absolutely. Volta builds public electric car charging infrastructure. So we go out to properties in cities, really grocery stores, shopping malls, sports stadiums, etc. We provide them EV charging as a public amenity so that they can bring people to their stores and let them charge up while they're going about their daily business.
So kind of having that, so it's very convenient, I would imagine, for electric vehicle owners, if you're out there doing something normal and having that in there. Let me ask you this, just as far as the state of where things are right now, how is the electric vehicle infrastructure, and how predominant are these kinds of charging stations?
So I would say that the electric vehicle industry at large is still very much in its infancy, but it has only a couple of years before acceleration starts to take quite a fast pace. For us, Volt has been around since 2010, and the last year and a half, 2 years have been really the acceleration point. So EV charging infrastructure very much in its infancy still. People are still trying to connect infrastructure across the country, across the world, to where you have a baseline public EV charging network that completely replaces the utility of gasoline. But realistically, we are about 2 years from the point at which electric vehicles start to become cheaper than gas vehicles. That's when things get really interesting.
And that's what, looking at a lot of these companies that are now getting into making electric vehicles, I mean, virtually every major auto manufacturer is seeing kind of the writing on the wall and is coming out with some kind of line of these. So 2 years from now, once we have all of these vehicles out there, what are some things that Volta is looking to do to help alleviate some of those issues as far as, you know, what we have with gas stations now? How can we get more charging stations out there? How are you going about this?
Yeah. So Volta's business is fairly simple. We provide EV charging in a way that matches and inspires the demand of electric cars. So we want to be able to go out, map where electric car drivers use our charging infrastructure, build out chargers that are demand driven. So where can they deliver the most energy, where they can deliver the most electricity. We provide charging as a free amenity in many cases, as a service that is free to electric vehicle drivers to bring them to Whole Foods to do their shopping, or to Ahold, which is a major grocery chain, as a service that will provide an amenity that incents people to go.
I mean, to have it 100% free is huge. I mean, that would definitely be a big, I mean, it's already certainly a huge competition to the gas industry, but 100% free, that's tremendous. What has the feedback been about that? And actually, who would be essentially paying for the free charging that everybody's getting?
So the business is an ad-sponsored model. We go out, we provide free charging at the properties, and we use digital displays in front of the stores to advertise to everyone that's walking and driving by. It's kind of a dual-purpose business. We wanted to build EV charging infrastructure to inspire the general public towards electric vehicles. And by providing advertising, we monetize that instead of charging people for electricity.
Interesting. So it's entirely paid by advertising and the businesses themselves to attract people to come in there, you know, essentially to shop at those locations.
Exactly. If Whole Foods can provide a few dollars for free electricity to incent someone to spend $100 at their grocery store versus another grocery store, it makes a lot of sense.
So looking at it from that standpoint, I know that, you know, you said like 2 years from now, you think is when we're going to reach that tipping point. What are some of the major factors that need to happen for electric vehicles to be mainstream enough that to where they're legitimately threatening to take over the gas industry?
We thought about this since the outset of the business. You know, there are three things that I think drive people towards electric vehicles. First, the cars have to be sexy. You have to have exciting sports cars. You have to have exciting SUVs and pickups and utility. And that's really what a lot of people have been focusing on Tesla really as the front runner there. Second, the cars have to be cheap, which is all a condition of battery prices. And so we know that the cars are going to hit that price parity point because we can see where OEMs are purchasing batteries. And then the third, you really do need that public EV charging infrastructure as a social psychology tool, almost more so than you do purely for the utility of it. People want to be able to see and that there is charging infrastructure they can rely on, where they can make cross-country trips, even if the majority of their day they are just going home to work, to shop, etc.
So with those three factors, and then thinking that, you know, this is the way, as we talked before, you know, the auto industry is certainly adapting. People saw what Tesla was doing, and now they're getting into the game with this. And as we see more people adapt to it, I wanted to ask you, just for your company in particular, Volta. I mean, if we look at the gas industry as being like, you know, Exxon and Shell and BP and the competition there, how does Volta stand out to your competitors in this industry if you are going to be essentially the new fuel network? I don't know if it's a direct comparison, and you would certainly know better than me, maybe in apples and oranges, but how do you stand out compared to what your competition is doing?
Right. I think that as you look at EV charging, the interesting thing about electricity as fuel versus gasoline as fuel is that electricity, the infrastructure is already largely ubiquitous. We have a power grid delivering electricity to office buildings, to shopping malls, to your home. And so not only are you competing with other brands and other businesses, you're competing with people charging at home or charging at work, et cetera. And businesses have built different proficiencies to carve out different parts of the space. For us, our business is really about focusing on looking at demand-driven locations where you can see the highest traffic, where you can deliver the most electricity per dollar that you invest, and really on providing the service in a way that is profitable, in a way that can scale, in a way that can grow as electric cars take off.
I mean, it's certainly a huge potential there. I mean, providing free charging for people and figuring out this model, I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? I mean, that's such an incentive to go to an electric vehicle. One other quick question I had just here before we ended, when it comes to the advertising partnership, I think that's a really fascinating angle to what you're doing, having those video displays there. Can you talk about any of the partnerships that you have going currently and what that actually looks like for somebody when they go to park their car?
Yeah, so the advertising part of the business is actually focused on everyone that is walking and driving by the stations. We put the stations front and center at the doors of these major retailers, these major traffic hotspots. And the idea is really that there's advertising both from brands, there is community support messages, things like in the current crisis, there's some COVID messaging about wash your hands. There's advertising for some of the brands that are sold in store, and then advertising for car companies, OEMs, people that are industry aligned. As an advertising platform, it kind of works across everything, but it's really focused on the idea that advertising that provides a real service is much, much better measured as a brand investing.
Nice, and maybe even some Volta original programming or something down the line. I don't know. That's up to you. But Scott, I want to say thank you very much for joining us here to talk about this too. Really appreciate you being on Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining from your living room. Excited to see where you go. And for everybody out there who wants to learn more, what's the best place for me to send them?
It's at voltacharging.com.
Perfect. Scott, thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it, Greg.
All right, so there we go. Scott Mercer talking about Volta charging and just where that's going to be going. I mean, that's you think about how many people are getting into the electric vehicle space. It's a lot to think about right there. But I know we've got more to talk about. I need to get us to a break, so I think everybody who's broadcast or who's watching us live, broadcast from my living room, wherever you are, hit that subscribe button and join us. Up next, we've got Davin Matthews to talk about the photography industry and just what this is having, what kind of an effect this is having on that, and where that's going to be going, what we can expect in the future. Let's get to a break. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and I do appreciate everybody watching. Hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you're watching on. That way you get notifications when we do go live, and you can join the conversations that we get to have. And right now, we're going to have a conversation about the photography industry and cameras and what kind of an effect COVID-19 is having on that. To do so, we have our own Davin Matthews, who's joining us right now to talk about that. And Davin, thank you. I'm assuming that is your home living room setup, your work from home setup that you've got right there. But tell us about, what we need to be thinking about when it comes to this, because honestly, I have no idea how this is affecting this industry. What are some of the big concerns right now?
Yeah, well, it's kind of affecting the camera industry like it's affecting every other tech industry. And the camera industry is certainly not immune to part shortages. A lot of stuff is produced in China, so of course that took a big hit early on. But we are seeing some product delays, some pretty high profile products like Nikon's new flagship DSLR, the D6, has been delayed. And then we've also seen a lot of big events getting canceled, of course. So events like Photokina, which is a huge photography show, as well as the National Association of Broadcasters show, which is an annual show in Las Vegas. That was supposed to happen just in April, actually. Obviously, like a lot of other events around the world, those have been canceled. So if you were looking to purchase a camera this spring, you might have to wait.
So yeah, with all these kinds of delays, and I guess that's something that like you said, we're getting used to across a bunch of different industries with products getting delayed. Let's talk about some of the specific ones. I know you mentioned, I want to make sure I get the names right. The Nikon D6 DSLR, yeah. But there's also the Fujifilm cameras as well.
Yeah, and these are kind of the brands that have sort of made these official announcements about what might be delayed. So for Fuji, they've specifically mentioned their X-T3 and X-T30, which are very popular models. The new X-T4 seems like it might be delayed as well. There were some new announcements from Canon in February, like their new Rebel camera, the T8i, which is a very popular product for them. Still doesn't have a release date. And in a lot of these cases, the companies aren't really saying something is necessarily delayed or really being upfront about the total impact of what's going on and what those delays might be. And I think a lot of that's just, people don't know yet. People still don't know how long all of this is going to last.
Yeah, definitely a big concern. And I wanted to ask you too. I mean, as a photographer and somebody who's used to being out there to trying out, even when the cameras do come out, you have to get out there and test these things out. And I'm sure, you like most photographers, work at events and things like that. What are some of the effects that that's had on the industry, just for photographers in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, a lot of photographers make their money at events, and that might be small events, it might be things like weddings, or it might be things like professional sporting events and the Olympics, which just got postponed a year. So there's a whole slew of cancellations there that are really affecting the industry. So it's not just on the product side, it's also on the people using the products. And if you are a professional photographer, it's really impacting your ability to make money right now. So yeah, it's a challenge all around for sure. As far as I go, I thought I was going to be testing some new products here this month, but I'm still on the waiting list. So.
What have you been doing now with this work from home, lifestyle? Is there any creative project that you've been working on, just trying to satisfy some of that creative need?
Yeah, and to be fair, I do work from home regularly, so a lot of this for me has kind of been business as usual, which feels weird because I a lot of my friends are out of work right now, and I'm just kind of still doing my own thing, and it seems kind of strange. I usually spend all day alone, so social distancing is not difficult for me. But yeah, I am trying to keep the personal projects rolling. I've got my side project website going. I just got a new MacBook Air, and just for the fun of it, I'm reviewing that personally. So a good excuse to practice some product photography. Yeah, but I'm trying to stay creative. It's definitely something you should do if you're a photographer. If you're out of work, it's a great opportunity to get online and learn new skills. Check out some Photoshop tutorials or some lighting tutorials, whatever it may be. There's a ton of free education out there. Don't just get lazy. Don't slow down. Like, keep finding things to keep your brain active. That's super important right now.
Yeah, I think that goes across the board, but definitely some good suggestions there for photographers to start trying to learn some new skills and see what you can do. You know, as we're all adapting to this, clearly you had a little bit of a head start with the work from home, but
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating seeing where it's all going. And I know we've got a lot of articles up at digitaltrends.com too, just about what's going on in the industry, what people can expect. And if you do want to read the reviews on these cameras, I mean, eventually they are going to come out. So,
Right.
so you can read those reviews there as well. And Davin, you know, I want to say thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. And I love your home setup. I have seen it before when you've been on the show, but it's good looking. You definitely had a head start on there.
Yours is looking great too. I'm impressed.
Something behind me, but thanks, Davin. All right. Again, that's Davin Matthews. That is our editor of photography right there for Digital Trends. Appreciate him joining the show. We've got more coming up, though. We have Drew Prindle. Because it's Monday, it's time to take a look at some awesome tech you can't buy yet. This is where Drew Prindle goes around the internet to take a look at crowdfunding campaigns and find some of the coolest and sometimes the straight up weirdest ones that he can find. So that's coming up next. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
If you're worried you've contracted COVID-19, that's the disease caused by the novel coronavirus, don't just rush off and see your doctor, at least not right away. It seems counterintuitive, but health departments across the country are urging people with symptoms to call their doctors instead of heading to an emergency room or urgent care facility. This lets doctors better determine if someone is sick with coronavirus and whether they need testing. In addition, the Centers for Disease Control and the World Health Organization are both encouraging people to use telemedicine options like American Well, Buoy, or Doctor on Demand. Many hospitals offer virtual clinics as well. The benefit of calling ahead or going online is twofold. One, it keeps anyone who is sick from spreading their illness, be it the flu, a cold, or coronavirus. And two, it can give physicians and nurses more time to devote to those with more severe symptoms. A new form of telemedicine is being quickly developed and tested in Silicon Valley. Verily is debuting a coronavirus risk screening and testing website. Think of this as digital telemedicine. The online tool will triage people and direct those who are eligible to mobile testing sites. The website leverages Verily's existing health data platforms and was developed in partnership with the state of California. For now, the reach of the project is limited, but Verily intends to eventually scale the capacity as more testing kits and sites become available. Every evaluation for coronavirus starts with basic health questions and a description of symptoms. Next, the patient is asked for biometric data like heart rate and temperature. If one has a fever and an elevated heart rate, that might signal the possibility of developing respiratory distress. For patients with low acuity symptoms, physicians recommend simply monitoring and treating the symptoms. All of the assessment options will help to track those suspected of having coronavirus, so agencies like state health departments and the CDC can monitor the outbreak. Many cases of coronavirus are actually mild or even asymptomatic, making this an unfortunate double-edged sword. An infected person who shows no symptoms and thinks they probably don't need to be tested could venture out in public and infect others. That makes the need for social distancing that much more important. And because the virus can circulate undetected, researchers expect that a large number of people have the virus but haven't been tested. Still, not everyone needs to get tested. So currently, testing for the new coronavirus is not provided on request by members of the public. With shortages of test kits expected, only those who meet certain criteria can be tested. While the promise of telemedicine is that it will keep more sick people at home and hopefully keep a lot of people from panicking, there are some issues. Unfortunately, this approach shuts out anyone who doesn't have the tech savvy or gear to do a virtual chat with a doctor. The coronavirus may spur more Americans toward telemedicine, but since it could still leave some of the most vulnerable behind, it's critical that those who can use it do so in order to leave hospitals, clinics, and specialized testing centers free to attend those who need it most.
Well, hello, this is Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us wherever you are. I appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. Let other people know about the show. You can share it. You can join the conversations we get to have. But right now, it's one of our favorite segments where we get to talk about awesome tech you can't buy yet with our own Drew Prindle, who scours the internet to find some of the best and craziest crowdfunding campaigns out there. Drew, thank you for joining us from what I presume, once again, is your living room.
Yes.
Let's talk about some of these campaigns here. What one do you want to start with first?
Let's start with this charging cable thing. It's called Supercala.
Yes.
Which I assume is like short for supercalifragilisticexpialidocious or something. That's where I'm guessing the name comes from. I really don't know how it's related to Mary Poppins though. So basically what this thing is a charging cable that self-organizes. So you don't have to deal with like cable ties or daisy chaining like the thing together. It has a little magnets built into it so that it'll snap together in various sizes of rings, and you can reconfigure it and it'll always stay organized.
I 100% want to back this one because I will tell you, like, my backpack with all of my cables and wires is just a mess. I constantly get them all tied in. Like this,
Yeah.
This seems like something that's a no-brainer that should have already happened. by somebody, but I think this is awesome. What do you think of it?
I think it's pretty rad as well. The only thing is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to dish out enough money to replace all of my cables with these. The other thing is,
Yeah.
is like, I'm slightly skeptical of this video. Like, yeah, it's, you know, it looks super convenient and sleek and all of this when you know how to use it. But I have a sneaking suspicion that if I were to just toss this in my bag, like the magnets would connect in the wrong places and it would just be a rat's nest of not just cable, but also magnets.
You mean you can't just throw it open like that guy just demonstrated in the video? But
I mean, you probably can, but it's
yeah.
talking about like it like coming together all pretty in a nice little coil. Like that's probably not how it would work for me. It would just be a rat's nest of cable.
Well, that's the Super Cala. So again, awesome tech you can't buy yet. Taking a look at some of the different ones that are out there. Let's go on from Super Cala. We'll go on to the next one, and I'm taking a look here. This is Arcade Blaster, which you know the name already. I kind of like the name, but what is going on with this thing?
So this thing is, you remember like the light gun on Duck Hunt back in the good old days? This is like the modern version of that, except instead of using like light to shoot at your CRT TV, this thing, it basically has like a bunch of accelerometers and gyros in it. So it's very, very accurate motion sensing. And it allows you to like kind of move around, and instead of using a joystick controller, you're using this gun thing to navigate the environment or whatever. And the other cool thing about it is so remember in Duck Hunt, you're basically just pointing a gun at the TV, but this takes that concept to like a different level. What it does is it streams whatever game you're playing from your computer or from your console to your phone. So that you have like full range of motion. You can like spin around 360 degrees and you'll still be playing the same game, and your phone doesn't have to do all the processing. It's really just like streaming it from, you know, whatever console or computer you have, and it allows you to move around a little bit more freely instead of just pointing at a TV on your wall.
Weird. Okay, so when they're showing it there, it's showing a bunch of people like interacting and clearly doing backflips, which is exactly what I would be doing. But other than that, like are there like specific games designed for it to where you interact with each other, or is this just streaming like a PC game?
Yeah, so the video makes it look like it's like laser tag or something like that, where you can like play with your friends, but apparently that's not what it actually is. You're in a game, you can play with other people, but within the confines of like, you know, a traditional FPS game, you know? So yeah, the other thing is it works with just about every platform. You can play mobile games with this. You can play PC games with it. You can link it up to Steam or whatever and play pretty much any FPS game that you want to play. It's compatible with.
I mean, that's cool. That's not as cool as like home laser tag. I feel like that would be a bigger thing to me. But all right, so we got Arcade Blaster again. That's
right now.
All right, you got a good point. I guess I just like pretend to shoot the dog over and over. I don't know what I would do. Strap one on the dog so it's running around. So we got Arcade Blaster. You got that. Going on to the next one here for, again, awesome tech you can't buy yet. The third one, this one's, I just want to say it, Waffle Wow.
Yeah, this is totally, like, the name just makes it sound like something you see on, like, an infomercial, like, after Cutlery Corner, we got the Waffle Wow. And it's, yeah, that's what it sounds like. But really, despite the goofy name, this thing is so rad. I can't believe nobody has thought of this before. It's a waffle iron that makes waffle pieces that are in the shape of like Lego bricks, so you can stack them together and make structures that are edible.
Edible structures. So, I mean, it's basically like Minecraft meets breakfast.
I'd say more like Lego meets breakfast, but Minecraft is, I suppose so.
So taking a look at it again right there, again, as we're broadcasting live here. So that's something that you could, so you want one of these yourself. Are you going to back this one?
Oh yeah. See, the thing is, it's only $50, which I feel like is pretty reasonable for a waffle iron that makes Lego pieces. Like you're probably paying like, you know, $30 for a regular waffle iron. Extra $20 just so you can build houses and blow the minds of nieces and nephews. Dude, that's so worth it.
again, though, when you see those nieces and nephews, whenever that does happen again. But I guess that it'd make for a good video project of like, look at this delicious Waffle House you can't eat.
I'm just gonna make like the Taj Mahal out of waffle pieces and make it some weird art project.
Yeah, I think you could become the waffle guy during this lockout, this thing that we're going on. All right, well, Drew, again, it's awesome tech you can't buy yet. We've got it there at digitaltrends.com. Everybody can go through and take a look, and there's all kinds of cool ones and interesting ones that are out there. Drew Prindle will always bring those to you. Drew, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, always a pleasure, man.
All right, Drew Prindle. Again, we're all broadcasting from our remote locations as we go through with this. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. This is Digital Trends Live. So we are live. If this is your first time finding us, thank you for doing that. We broadcast live here every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. We bring you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions. We're on a bunch of different platforms. So whatever one you're watching us on, hit subscribe, and then you'll get the notification. You can join in the chat, talk to other people about what we're talking about. So we do appreciate that a lot. Speaking of coming up for tomorrow, we've got Ronan Glon, who's going to join us from France, actually, where they've been on lockdown for quite a while. He's going to be talking about the car industry and some of the interesting things that are developing, some of the things that aren't happening because of what's happening. So that's going to be Ronan who's going to join us there for that. We also have, it looks like, some special guests. We've got Jason from Trigger to talk about a really cool partnership between them, Bose, and Star Wars for a new AR project that you can actually utilize and use. So that's coming up tomorrow. So some really great stuff, and we appreciate everybody who joins us wherever you are. Again, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you right back here from my living room tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.